Hey, what's up, guys? This is T-Bone here. Welcome to another stream, and we're going to be doing a preview for the upcoming event. And so, thanks for joining me. So, I did something a little bit different today. I actually got some questions asked ahead of time. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at these questions. I'm going to try and answer them. I do have a list of things I wanted to cover today. So, I do want to make sure that we talk about the event itself. I do want to give my take on the 3.0 rollout from the last event, just kind of a recap and my thoughts about it and what I think about the cards themselves. There's some changes in the event as well, so I definitely want to cover that and what we can look forward to. But the biggest thing really is the cards, and also getting a sense of what your thoughts are and also what you think we should do, or basically just have a conversation about what you think. So this is what I did. First thing is I asked for some questions, and these are some of the questions that I've already received. This probably isn't showing in the chat, so I'm just gonna do this here in the video. And if you have any questions, feel free to tag me, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can as well. So, there's a question, what is the difference between 1 to 3 generations besides the age of cards? And then also there's a question about, the ultra form of the cards. So I'll definitely go through them later on as well. But just real quickly, the difference between the 3 different generations of the cards besides how old they are, if you think about it this way, Generation 1 cards have no ability to create lots and lots of power gems. Generation 2 is all about using intensity to create power gems, so you can get a lot of power and a lot of damage out there. And then the Generation 3 cards are the new ones that started from not the last one, but the Water Slayer event from two times ago. So basically 11 weeks ago. Anything with that new dragon frame, they're the Generation 3 cards. They have empowerment, so any cards that have the 10 times empowerment are the Generation 3 cards. So that's the separation between them. And I'm gonna answer Chris's questions about the Ultra form in a little bit, but I just wanted to get this up here so that we can take a look. And as I'm talking about the Ultra, as the cards for this event, I'll come back and answer these questions here. So just saying hello to everybody on the stream here. Again, thanks a lot for joining me here, and also excited to have you here. All right, so first let's take a look at the cards. All right, so we have this new event for the Dark event, and you can see that we have the past Ultimate Hero and also the current Ultimate Hero that we can forge. This is the same as the last event. I never really got a chance to talk about it much, but having gone through the whole event, I'm going to give my take on the cards themselves, as well as whether I think it's worth it for you to be crafting an the ultimate form. So first, let's take a look at the cards here, and also let's take a look at the collections. So what we see here is that there's no change to the last event, where in order to get a potential rune, we still need to get the event card, and there is a 25% chance for event card. And I'm not surprised by this change, to be honest with you, because we've only had one event. And my personal feedback is that I wish that we don't need to have the event card in order to get the runes there. Because if you think about it, we've effectively lost the number of runes from previously, where we didn't need the event hero. And if you don't get this one now, you don't spend, then you can't get that those 2 runes plus the one for ultra rare. So that is a change I hope to see. But I can understand why they don't make that change right now, just because we've only gone through one event, and it was a Slayer event. And given that Commander is a little different, I understand the decision there. So let's take a look at cards, and just kind of taking a look at the chat here. So, Teresa, Kiana, Susie, Jeff, Jan, Jonathan, and Kong William Deep, welcome. And there's a comment that, this is a first self-sufficient deck. So let's take a look at that and see if that's the case. So I'm going to start with, I guess we'll just start with the Master Collection card. So this is Prince Peltier and Gondo. And what I like to do is, I try something a little bit different. So, oh no, not that one. You know what? Let me really quickly fix this. This is why you don't change things last second. Okay, so what I did was, this is how I normally did my event preview. So here's the card, Prince Peltier and Gondo, and the battle skill here will destroy up to 16 gems, and then it will also create 3 dark power gems. So it also heals. So it heals for 150% for every gem you destroy. So with 16, you can do the math there. Now, how I feel about this card is that there are other better Gem Destroyer card. So it feels weird that this is from a Master Collection card, in that it is nice when you have a Gem Destroyer card that's paired with a Gemfall card. And I could see why they did it, and we'll talk about it. But I wish that it wasn't just in the Master Collection card. So by the fact that it creates 3 Power Gem 4s, it is a little bit weaker than the other cards, but because you pair it with a Gem Destroy, I think that this card will do pretty well. And there's a 4-turn cooldown, and it does a heal as well, so I think that's okay. And then this card will pair with the Ultra Rare card, right? So we've got a Gem Destroyer card, and then we've got a Gem Destroyer, we got a Gem Destroyer, and then we have the Ultra Rare here, Kindercraft, which is a what we call a Gemfall deck here, a card. And so this will actually, passively give you a moderately increased drop rate of dark gems for that turn. Now, I don't know exactly what moderate translates to, so there's no math behind it, and it's a little bit different than what we are used to seeing, where it tells you exactly the number of gems that you can expect to fall with this. But basically, this gives you but the nice thing is it's a passive, so you don't have to activate anything. You just get more gems falling every time, and then it'll also create dark gems based on the number of gems on the board. Now, to me, what's funny is a Gem Destroyer card and a card that actually creates gems based on number of gems on the board, they've never really worked out well together. The last time we had this was when we had Luga plus Golden Guardian or Golden Warrior. And what you can do with that card is, you pair those two, it has exactly the same mechanic. You could never really fill the board with power gems just because of the way it worked. So I think that, it's not really something that you'll expect to really fill the board. But then with the way that we've gotten the ultimate form and the empowerment, it really isn't going to require all that much. And so we can use this opportunity now to take a look at this card here, which is the the ultimate form, the Moonlight Fantasy. And this card, if you look at the skills here, this is where it combines both, right? So it both destroys gems and it also has its own increased drop rate. So every time you activate this skill every 4 turns, you're going to get a bunch of power gems on the board. So this card by itself is going to, I think help get some good damage in there. And so compared to the last ultimate form, it's a bit a little different, but what I can tell you is this. I feel that this card is so much better than the previous ultimate form. And I would actually I was looking at this, right? Like if you actually had the previous ultimate rare card, I guess there's really no reason not to combine. So my personal feeling is that I don't really like the skills of both the Master Collection card and the Ultra Rare card for this particular event. And, so this one, you can create 10 dark power gems, but it starts at a cooldown of 6 turns. So you can't use this battle skill until 6 turns later. And my problem here is this. Because there's a cooldown of 6 turns for the Master Collection card, I think the battle skill for the ultimate rare card that you could have gotten, where it creates additional 3 dark power gems for the next 3 turns, also goes on a cooldown. So you can't do anything with this card once you forge it for 6 turns, whereas the Ultra Rare card at least could have been used immediately. So my personal feeling is that this card, I wish they had adjusted it, just because it's supposed to be the best card in the particular deck, but I don't like the 6-turn cooldown. So it's your preference, but I think that this one is it's not my favorite, right? But I see a note here, so good for Guild versus Guild. That's correct. So any Gemfall and Gem Rainer decks typically are really good for Guild versus Guild. I do have something planned I'm going to talk about in the upcoming video about how you can use Gem Rainers in Guild versus Guild. So that is definitely the case. And let's take a look at the event card here then. So Motley Oisizo. So this card is Also a gem destroyer, so that's good. So I talked about, I wish this wasn't just the master collection card, so I was wrong. It is also on the event card. So you also get a dark gem destroy here, but it only goes up to 12. So if you wanted to destroy, larger number of gems, you will need multiple of those, and it gives you a heal as well, and it also creates 4 dark power gem ones. So this is a little bit nicer because by destroying gems, your power gems are more likely going to be combined together, and also because it's a gem destroyer, if you activate it last, then you'll be able to collect more power gems together. So this one works better than the previous ones that we've seen so far. So again, just saying hi to the chat here. Lucky Sheet, hello there. And let's see. So Kiana, so you've already got 2 Motley. Congratulations there. And Pedro, welcome. And so finally, the last card, we'll take a look at the support. So this is called the Trusted Chariot. And I should remove that. And here it is. So Starborn Stampede. This card is extremely basic. So it creates 6 dark gems and it does a nuke attack of 120% of the attack value. So no heal from the support card. The heal is coming from the main card this time. Having seen what a support card can do, I kind of wish that the support card is a little bit better, just because, it's one of those cards that people are more likely to get more multiples of. And it's a 4-turn cooldown, so I think it's all 4 turns, so at least it's consistent there. And it's interesting, this one actually requires 12 gems instead of 9 gems. So these are just kind of, the little things that we have to pay attention to. So what are my thoughts so far about this particular deck? Someone mentioned that it is a more self-sufficient deck, and I tend to agree, right? So if you can get the event card, and that gives you a couple of power gem creations, and if you have dark gem creators, so some of the cards that I would recommend using. So let's take a look. So dark commander. So if you have any of these cards, obviously these are good cards to use to combine with a deck, and also it's a mystic deck, so you can also use your mystic intensity building relics from the past to also help boost some damage there. So these cards are going to be a good addition, to add in there. Any cards that can give you power gen 4s is going to be good. Now, my take on the Master Collection card this time, Aswan. My experience with the Overkill and the Ultra Kill bosses from the last Commander event, I was lucky. I had 2 Master Collection cards going, and I was taking up about 5 to 6 turns in order to actually take down the boss. And since this has a 6-turn cooldown, if you can survive long enough, this does create 10 power gems. And if you can survive that long, I think what you can do is you could have a potential to actually get the overkill value. If you can survive 6 turns with 1 key, you may be able to get 100% overkill, which is what I was doing in the last event. So these are some of the tricks I'm going to be experimenting and looking for. So I'm hoping that this works, because if it does, then this will be a really good card to add in there just for the number of power gems that you can have. And there are other power gem options as well. And also, by the way, I think Mondo Nihil, the Mondo Nihil deck is going to be the starter deck for this particular event. So that is something to look forward to. And so I'm just looking at the chats again. So 2 event hero, 2 support cards, and 1 ultra form will have if you fire in that order, you'll get a lot of power gems. So that's a really good idea there. Again, we're definitely going to be taking a look here, but just the cards themselves here, it can be self-sufficient. Now, my personal take on the difference between Commander and Slayer, we talked about, power creep, and we talked about the fact that these cards are really powerful, and how do we compete, and these older cards are no longer effective. So I think we've largely seen that in Slayer. So in Slayers, we saw a lot more of a sniping that happens, but in the Commander event, like in this one, it's something that you fight in your own pace. So it's about finding your own playstyle and coming up with a deck that allows you to survive longer and to also deal more damage. Again, trying to get the damage as high as you can with as few keys as possible is the goal. And so we're going to explore and see what we can do. And, just taking some more questions here. So one of the questions is, what do you think of not having the rune cards? So that's something I'm going to touch on as well pretty soon. But just kind of going back to some of the card ideas there, there are some of the cards that I was thinking about, right? Like if you don't want to go invest in this deck, what are some of the options you have? So I was looking around, and there's some pretty cool cards. And so if you look at the Codex, for example, I'm gonna just quickly show you a dark commander deck. This one is something that you can actually get in the Dust store. I just never really bothered keeping it, but let me see. So Luciano Karn. Is actually a Gemfall deck card as well. It does require intensity, but it has a low cooldown rate. So you can activate this every 3 turns, and it will, I think, either goes to moderate or high or greatly increases the drop rate of your dark gems for a turn. And so this is something that you can pair with your event hero if this is a card that you have. I might consider buying this card back just to play around with it, but it's something to consider. The other card that I was thinking about, for a Gemfall is also Loki. And if I can't remember what Loki's class is, so we'll just kind of quickly search from here. Pardon me, I think he's Demigod or Fable. There's a way to quickly search. Here it is. So Loki is also a card that greatly increases the drop rate. The only problem is it has a 7 turn cooldown, and so I think that and it's also not a commander card, so it's going to be less useful. But these are some of the things that I was kind of thinking about, and obviously something else that is going to be really similar is going to be Guardian of Gaul. If you have this card, that's another card that does exactly the same thing, where it will create power gem 2s for every 5 dark gems on the board. So again, one of these cards that you can also add to your deck. So I'm already giving some ideas here, and this is definitely something I'm going to be playing with as well. So my thoughts about this particular deck is that, the event card is a good one. It's a gem destroyer deck, and anytime you can have a gem destroyer card, it's good. And the ultra rare card is very nice. It's a passive Gemfall, and that by itself will be very useful when you pair it with other cards that can give you immunity or turn delay for a guild versus guild. So it is a card that if you get, definitely worth keeping. And if you're able to craft the ultimate form, I think there's no mistake. It is going to be a very good good deck here, a good card to have. And so now if we take a look at the collection, so we don't know exactly what the collection is going to be like. And just again, going back to some of the questions that Chris had earlier, his questions were, does the ultimate form seem worth it to you? And does crafting it take away from the team? Another question is like, there are 2 ultimate forms. What do I think about the one that can be made with the previous cards? And is it possible to take down an ultimate hero without the ultimate form? And so I'm just going to go ahead and, change this for a second. Excuse me while I do this. So just again, going back to the questions here, I think that the ultimate form for this particular event, yes, it's worth it. You get both the Gem Destroy and also Gemfall in a single card. That is definitely a very good card. Is the previous one worth it? I think the ultimate form cards are worth it in general compared to having a rare card and a Master Collection card. The reason being, they actually boost the entire team as opposed to just by themselves. So having that one card, that was sort of my problem. Like I was really struggling with whether or not I wanted to sacrifice my ultimate, the ultra rare card. In the end, it was worth it. So I think in general, an ultimate form is always going to be worth it since you're not losing anything that you aren't already getting from 2 different cards. You get both in one card. But I think there are, ultimate forms are better than others. And in this case, the ultimate form from the previous event definitely is in that category where I feel like it falls short, right? So I just feel like I would rather have this one than the past one. But if you already have the ultra rare card and the Master Collection card, you should just go ahead and craft it. I think it will be better than not doing that. And finally, the last question is it possible to take down an ultimate boss without a ultra form? So that actually leads to my next point here. I wanted to talk about this. So if you take a look at the news feed here, there's a couple of updates. Number 1, we're now going to get ultimate bosses. All right. So the ultimate boss was something that was introduced in the last event, and it felt a little gimmicky. Just because you got nothing at the very end except for a trophy, or not trophy, a medal. And I like that, actually. I do like the fact that it wasn't too game-changing. Like, it wasn't something that really changed the leaderboards too much just because the trophy count was low, and we didn't get additional trophies at the end. So I like that. I do wish that we got other forms of rewards. But the thing is, it did make people who couldn't take it down feel bad. And so the question is, if you don't have the ultimate form, can you take it down? I guess in Slayers, what I noticed is that there are ways to take down the first level. It's about 1.5 trillion health. So if you have a pretty good deck, even without the ultimate form, you could still do it. But I think you can, at most, just do level 1. I don't think level 2 is possible with a 5-minute rate. And then the question is, sorry about that. I should have taken that. And then the second thing is, in the Commander event, I don't know what the ultimate boss health is going to be like. So is the ultimate form necessary? I don't know until I see it. So my take on it is, as long as this isn't going to alter the leaderboards, as long as it's not game breaking, like, if you don't have the ultimate form card, you can't take down the ultimate boss, and therefore you're always going to be placing lower than others because there are other ways for people to get a lot of trophies. I think that's a little bit unfair advantage, so I wouldn't want to see that. So that's my feedback on that. And the other thing that I think people are going to like is that there is now no longer any restrictions for challenge missions. So keep in mind that we used to have those restrictions on both the affinity as well as the card types. They've removed it for our challenges. So yay! Now you can use any cards that you want to bring in, and you can take down the challenges. So the thing about the challenges is, the higher you go in the challenge level, the more secret boss fragments you'll earn. I think the very last level you go to, you're going to earn 10 of those fragments as opposed to 3 or 4 in the earlier levels. You'll still get 6 keys, but you're just not going to have as many of the secret boss fragments to summon the secret boss. So I never went to the last one just because I didn't have the full team I could really go after, and I didn't want to waste a lot of the keys there. But with this change, now it'll allow people to actually go after that. So I'm just going to take a second here and see if there's any other questions that I may or may not have answered. So the question is, should we chase the full deck? And I'm going to be very honest here. Me personally, I'm going full tilt free to play. So for the foreseeable future, I don't expect myself to spend on gems at this point for personal reasons. And also I want to see how far I can take myself for the next few events. I'm currently in the Legends League right now. I may or may not be able to stay there, but I'm okay with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, do what I can to get the cards, get the runes, and I'm going to see for myself how long it will take for me to craft something. So for my personal sake, I'm not going to go after the full deck just because it's not going to be feasible for me. But should you chase, the thing is, I always feel like you should spend as much as you feel comfortable with spending. So keep in mind that there's a couple of things that's going to go against you. Number one, if you go for the deck, there is no guarantee that you're going to get it anymore at any tiers. There's no luck system in place, but there is the fact that you can craft runes. So you can use runes to craft these cards. So if you're lucky, I hope you are, then then you'll probably feel a little bit better. It's just that I always feel a little bad telling people to chase after something because then it can cost a lot of money. But what I will say is that the ultra rare card so far is a good card to have. I don't think it's game breaking, but it is a good card to have. And the other thing to keep in mind, some people didn't know this. When you go through the crafting sort of mode, the first time you collect all the runes, you're guaranteed to get the ultra rare card of this particular event. The second time around, when you get the 6 runes again and you go and craft, you may not get it. You may get this one, or you may get the one from the previous event. And as the events go on, it's going to be random across all of the previous Generation 3 ultra rare cards. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people got burned by it because they didn't know. And so I want to make sure that people understand that this is the case right now. They may or may not change it. I don't know. I personally would have liked them to give you a choice rather than give you a random. Like, I know why they did it. They did it so that you have a chance to create the ultimate form of the previous event. But I think people need to have a choice here. I think, just not giving them a choice in this particular case, a random, sort of like a random hero based on random runes is a little bit too much. Okay? And the same thing for the Master Collection card as well. If you were to craft your second one, you may not get the one for this particular event. So that's something to keep in mind. So I guess my long answer here is the event deck by itself, I think will work well. I've seen this work, and there's no reason to believe that you wouldn't do well in this event. But chasing after the full deck for the sake of chasing the ultra rare, to me, that is, that's something that I don't personally recommend if you're not prepared for it, right? So with all the other cards that you have here, you should do fine. And there are a lot of other options from previous events that can fill the gap. So I don't think it's as necessary. It's basically spend within your means. That's sort of what I want to say. And let me see if I missed anything else. And if you tag my name, it'll be easier for me to pop up if there's a specific question. I'm going to try to answer it through them. So if I miss it, my apologies. And I'm just kind of reading through. So Joshua Davis, what is your opinion on the ultimate deck makeup a couple of months out? So my feeling is I don't really know until I've sort of seen a couple of events. But what I can tell you is this, right? An ultimate form deck works really well if you can also take advantage of the killer skill. And so this particular killer skill, that's actually a good point here, only applies to specific type of cards. And so when you get it and within the event, it's going to feel really good. But then outside the event, it may feel bad. But the thing is, it's not tied to affinity. So in this particular case, this is called a immortal killer. So that means anytime you go up against God or Dren, I think, or at least God, I can't remember the others. It used to be immortal, it used to be deity. Okay, so we'll talk about it a little bit later. It's going to work really well for this particular event, and it's going to work really well anytime you go up against a light god card. Okay, or just any god cards in general. You're going to have the immortal killer skill apply, but you're not really going to be able to reuse this until a bit later. So a couple months out, what's going to happen is, you might be able to use a previous ultimate form that you've built, or you might, there might be other cards that sort of like fill in the gaps. I just think that, having the right expectations set, that it's not going to be always the best card all the time. I think if you set that expectation, then you should feel better about it. I don't think you need to create an ultimate deck every single event, but having one or two should be helpful. And so let's see other cards. So Matt McDaniels, because this ultimate form card is a PG spawner and a gen spawner, do you think it's even a solid addition to future Dark Slayer decks? So I personally really like adding Slayer, mixing Slayer and mixing Slayer and Commander cards. It's just that the current meta where you only get bonuses from your relics and your cards by having all like a full Slayer team or a full Commander team, and I guess it depends on the situation. But yes, this card, the fact that it is a gen spawner and a gen rainer, I think it could be a good addition for any dark deck, right? And I just feel like it's a good addition overall, and it may be a little bit of a sacrifice overall, but I think that the benefits that it will bring is going to be really good. And so let's see if there's anything else here. We need more room from the event. And yeah, so can you talk about the ultimate relics too? Oh yes, this is something that people have asked about. My take on the ultimate relic is that if you are able to craft a ultimate relic, you're probably not going to see a huge difference. To me, it feels like the level 1 ultimate relic is like the same as a enchanted relic, but you're sacrificing one of your relics for it. The benefit you're going to see is if you have multiple. So if you have 3, or if you have multiple of these relics, and you can get to 2-star or 3-star, it starts becoming more valuable because it gives you battle skills. It'll fill up a battle skill on turn 1, and it becomes very useful. And it obviously you'll power up the card a lot more. So for somebody who's a free to play, who maybe only get 1 and maybe lucky will get 2 relics, I think this is probably something you can decide to do over time. I wouldn't rush into it. That's what I've told a lot of people too. Like, you'll have the opportunity to forge those relics, in the future. I wouldn't really rush into it. I think, take a wait and see approach. That's how I would go about it. Like personally, I would probably never do it just because I have two. The only one I have multiple of, if you take a look at my gears, remember that one time I got really, really lucky. So I had the Water Commander relic. So I got 3 of them in two tiers. So I might consider going, and crafting this for the next time the Water Commander event comes around, just so I can see what it's like there. But we'll have to see. And let's see. And after how badly you got screwed over for the last event, do you think the devs should do something about the rampant duplicates we get? Pretty sure this is gambling. My take on it is, randomness is randomness. I do think that there are ways we can mitigate against it. We've asked about it. We've talked about it. I don't think that this is something that they will change. And so it is something that we, as long as we have this info, right? Do I think it's rigged? No. Do I think that there could be improvements? Yes. And do I think that they're going to do anything about it? I don't know. And I don't think they will, right? So here's the things, right? We, as players, without spending, will get a maximum of 6 runes per event. I'm hoping that they give us more. But if we don't, then the thing that we can hope for is eventually craft something in the future. And I think that commander event is going to be, it's going to be easier to handle in the commander event, but Slayer event is obviously going to be a lot harder. So I'm still waiting to see. Like I said, I want to wait until we finish one Slayer event and one commander event before I see any changes, because I know it takes time for the data to come through. And so I'm waiting to see what their feedback is going to be after this. But so far, based on what I'm seeing, I don't see any difference between this commander event and the previous one before the 3.0 change. It's all about, can you one key legends? And that's something I'm going to go for in the next video so that we can, explore options. So more questions here from Pedro. So every pink star give the card a new relic, a new skill is always the same or change every type. Good question. I don't know. We'll have to see when the next relic comes out and we can start answering it. But if I have to sort of take a guess, I think that every 2 pink stars will give you some new skill. That's what I think I saw, but I will have to confirm that. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I also wrote down a thing here. So we talked about number of runes, event changes. So the main thing, recap, no more restrictions for challenges, and we're going to have ultimate bosses. Good and bad. I'm kind of scared about the ultimate bosses, to be honest with you, because I don't know what it's going to require. If it's going to use stamina, great. If it's going to use keys, not so great. And the restriction removal, I think that's really good. The things that's not changing in 3.0, so we're not changing anything about the collections or anything like that, staying the same for 2 events, I think it makes sense. I talked about that. And my thoughts are, it's just all about, setting the right expectations, right? Like, it's not, the pack opening isn't as delightful as I wished. And I'll be honest about that. And so having seen what I've gone through, hopefully that is something that you can set expectation for yourself. People who want to spend are going to spend. But people who are spending because they feel like, of all these changes that they've been told, just want to make sure you set the right expectations. And also, I'm playing this for fun. And I feel like the challenge, I get more challenge from just using the cards I have rather than, trying to fill a complete deck. But that's just a personal thing. So, I'm okay with not chasing after something for this particular, set of events. But I do think that the event card is a good card to have. And I'll be willing to go up to tier 4 if I have to. But I'm really hoping my 25% chance to pull it happens. And so I think I answered some of the other questions as well. And then, so just kind of going on here. What's needed to evolve Ultimate Relic? Oh, I think to evolve more is just more relics. I don't remember whether you need 2 more or just an additional 1. And, these are Dark Mystics. That's correct. It is a Dark Mystic deck. And did I mention the Overkill collection? Oh, I did not mention anything about the Overkill collection. Thank you for the reminder. So the other news is the Overkill collection. So remember those super duper relics that we can get, the Generation 2 relics now? They cost a lot of money. But now they're actually giving the runes for free. So basically, if you can get the Overkill collection, you'll be able to earn runes. How many runes you'll be able to earn, I don't know. I'll be surprised if you can earn that many, given how expensive it really is. But hey, it's a free room. If you can get the Overkill, get the room. That's awesome because it's so expensive to get one. And so I think that's a really good change. It's just that the relic itself is so game breaking for guild versus guild. I kind of feel a little torn about it. And Chris Dilly, so do you think it's more valuable to collect relics over an extended period before making them ultimate form? Yeah, personally, I feel like, for somebody who doesn't collect a lot of relics, I literally get one relic an event. So it's not even a question for me. But for somebody who gets two, I just feel like, once you have more of these relics, right? So we're on our second commander event. So if you have two of those, now you should have three at this point. You'll start having more relics to start playing with. And I just feel like, it's a really good way over time to start forming those, more powerful relics. There's no reason to keep more than 5 relics around, to be honest with you. And so you can start forming them, but just, if you feel hesitant, my recommendation is just hold off and just kind of wait a little bit, And Pedro's question is, have you seen a 3 or bigger star card? Yes, I have. I have seen I think a 4-star card, or is it 5 at this point? And a ultimate form at 5 stars, I think gives 1,200% damage to all the Water Slayer cards. That's the one I saw. I don't think there's any additional skills there. And let's see, so should we still keep Generation 1 cards? I think that it's hard. I think, there are a lot of cards that are still useful for Spire. And I find myself just kind of scrambling sometimes to try and fill something up. If you have the space for it, I just, keep the ones that are useful. And I think that eventually we're going to get to the point where the Generation 3 cards are going to, fill the hole for Spires. So I think at that point, yeah, you can just get rid of the Gen 1 cards, but there's still some that are very useful. Keep in mind, there are ones that you shouldn't dust. Any Gen spawners, any, healers, you should keep them around. Like, you shouldn't just blindly dust Gen 1 cards, but we can go through that in a future episode where maybe we can go through like a dusting, sort of like what cards to keep episode. All right. And then, so just taking a couple more questions. And I think we'll probably end it in 4 minutes. It's going to be coming up to 40 minutes. So thanks a lot for sticking with me on this long drawn out preview video. So how do you evolve the Ultimate Rail? So yeah, we talked about it. You just need multiple copies of the Relic. And so let's see, you got a Generation 3 water. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so, I think that my personal opinion here is that this particular event, it doesn't look like there's a ton of changes. It looks like the cards are pretty decent. I think that the ultimate rare, the ultra rare, and the ultimate form, this particular event seem pretty good. And I think that, if you're able to get the runes and get it, there should be no question you should always do the ultimate form instead of waiting until later, just because you can give yourself a little bit edge. But if not, then I wouldn't really sweat it. I think that one of the things that I personally feel is that from event to event, we get this feeling that we must get all the cards every single event, and if we don't, then we are at a disadvantage. And while that is true, I also feel like it gives us unnecessary pressure to compete at the level. Now, I'm talking strictly from a perspective of someone who isn't planning to spend a lot, so I kind of understand where I'm coming from personally, but I'm just looking to have fun with the cards. And for me, it's more interesting if I can see a really creative use of the cards and a really creative deck. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to be like. And I think this particular event, I don't like the support card very much. I think that the previous support card is going to work better for me, so I'll probably mix and match there, but I like the event card, and I definitely like the other options as well. So we'll see how that goes. And do I think that they should buff the Gen 1 cards to at least match Gen 2? I think that they should buff all the cards. I honestly think that, having the latest Gen 3 cards, having the empowerment skill is great, but keeping the Gen 1 cards, basically they're the lowest of the low right now in terms of the attack and also anything related to it, so they become fodder. And it's really a shame because those cards had some really good and fun mechanics, because those were things that we were just starting out with, and they were experimenting with it, especially in Gen 2 as well. So I hope to see the day where they start increasing, not just through the Reforge mechanic, although we don't have Reforge at this point even, so I would take that. But a way to get more value out of those cards will be amazing. So that's my personal take on that. And yes, Aswan is going to work well if you can survive long enough, because my goal is always to use 1 key. And so, anyways, so I think this is, sort of the promised time. I kind of wanted to keep it a little bit shorter, but again, thanks so much for sticking around, guys. And let me know if this is a sort of format that you like doing. I actually really enjoy this interaction I have with you guys, and I do want to make sure that we can get the word out there. We can get more people to talk about the event, so we can get more information, right? I'm definitely reaching out to to devs to ask more questions, and whatever I know, I'll also pass along. And I think we get some really good feedback and some really good conversations here. I really enjoy this format here, and I will look forward to seeing you guys in the next stream. I might do one again on Thursday. I will definitely post and let everybody know. So thanks a lot for your time, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.